I just wanted to kind of see like if you were in good spirits.
You know, this is like a box of hell.
Lil Durk has never concealed his difficulties in prison. Fans are now concerned as new video emerged that shows Durk and his friend in difficult circumstances. Rumor has it that Durk's adversaries are encircling him in prison. Let's begin. The video that went viral? It is not surprising that the new film demonstrates how difficult life is for Lil Durk while he is incarcerated. Durk is imprisoned at the infamously infamous MDC Los Angeles facility. Judges have even referred to the area as barbarous due to the prevalence of violence and suicides, as well as the smuggling of contraband and dishonest guards. For Durk, that means there is actual risk inside every day, not only from his operations, but also from the prison. And it's safe to say that living behind those walls is anything but cozy, given the number of enemies Durk has made over the years. We hear Durk sparring with DJ Academics in one of the most widely shared phone conversations on the timeline, providing a unique glimpse into his mental state as he deals with these potentially life-altering accusations.
I've been good, man. Mentally, spiritually. I've been on top of my...
Man, I've been good. I've been on top of my game mentally and spiritually. That comment, given with Durk's trademark poise, demonstrates the mindset that has sustained him throughout his career. Beneath that tough exterior, however, is a man struggling with the prospect of being imprisoned for the rest of his life, away from his queen India Royale, his show, and the music empire he has been constructing for more than 10 years. The discussion deepens when Durk begins to thank everyone for their prayers and affection while simultaneously bringing up the brutal reality of federal incarceration.
So this is like a box of hell. You know, we don't get no news, no talk, no nothing. If you don't call or somebody send it to you on the computer, it's a wrap.
These phrases depict the icy seclusion that accompanies federal time, when any outside word becomes more valuable than gold. However, Durk's talk on his spiritual development while under lockdown is when he truly demonstrates growth.
I ain't really on too much of nothing, bro. I don't even be thinking about the outside.
I see your father, like, you know, he was speaking about you and you know, it brought me back to the conversation we had.
The rapper, who has been more outspoken about his Muslim beliefs, discusses remaining dedicated to prayer and religious study, as well as studying Arabic from other prisoners. This spiritual awakening behind the wall is consistent with Durk's recent career decisions, in which he has attempted to strike a balance between his street cred and themes of community, uplift, and peace. Through his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, Durk reportedly concentrated on spreading a message of peace and community service while he was incarcerated. Nevertheless, some collaborations were dissolved due to the charges. However, Durk isn't alone in this federal nightmare. In addition, the widely shared video and correspondence highlighted the fact that several members of his ONI, the family collective, are incarcerated next to him, thereby destroying one of Chicago's most significant hip-hop groups. Durk was arrested together with 5 other defendants who are accused of the same conspiracy and are all members of his ONI, the family collective. Among Durk's co-defendants, Kavan London Grant, also referred to as Kuz or Vani on the block, is arguably the most important. Grant, a 28-year-old Atlanta native who was born in Chicago, is characterized as a senior OTF colleague and one of Durk's day ones. According to the FBI documents, he was instrumental in organizing the logistics of the suspected murder-for-hire scheme, which included hiring whips, giving straps, one of which was allegedly modified to full auto, and copying ski masks. The accusation that Grant booked a hotel room for the team using Lil Durk's card and took a private aircraft to Los Angeles with Durk the day before the shooting is the most damaging to his case. He is presently awaiting shipment to Los Angeles while being held in federal custody in Illinois. Another important figure in the purported conspiracy is DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, ORDD, 33 years old and from Chicago. According to the description, Wilson was an OTF member who made the travel and bread arrangements. According to federal authorities, he arranged the hit squad's journey to Los Angeles and assisted in booking one-way flights from Chicago to San Diego using related funds. The one-way nature of these flights implies that the claimed participants either had no intention of returning or intended to vanish following the shooting. Wilson is detained by the federal government in Illinois. For the same operation, his fellow friends, Boogie, Brown A's, and Flocka are presently serving jail sentences. These men were all captured in Chicago on October 24, 2024. Just before Lil Durk was arrested in Florida while trying to escape the nation, which only serves to heighten the tragedy of the scenario. The timing implies that federal agents planned a large-scale takedown operation, apprehending the man they say was making the decisions after apprehending the other conspirators. However, this federal case is not the only instance of OTF members being imprisoned. Due to rumors of increased focus on the group after Lil Durk's case, a number of additional associates were arrested in August 2025 on unrelated offenses. On August 2, 2025, Funa was arrested in Chicago on charges of murder, burglary, and dumping of a body in a church. In particular, Oscar Oz Cruz's murder, whose body was purportedly abandoned after being shot 17 times. Although it seems unrelated to the federal conspiracy, this case adds to the Cruz already mounting legal issues. In August 2025, Bunmo was also arrested for possessing cocaine with the intent to distribute. He is an OTF-signed artist and Lil Durk collaborator who has been detained since the arrest and might go to jail if found guilty. Lil Durk's official DJ and producer, DJ Bands, was arrested in August 2025 for possession of marijuana and a probation violation. According to reports, this is related to narcotics discovered during a routine check, which violates his previous probation. Prosecutors, however, provided proof in May 2025 that Durk had broken jail regulations by making calls including prohibited three-way conversations using the phone accounts of at least 13 other prisoners. Even with a proposed $4.5 million bail package that included stringent terms like house arrest and private protection, the judge said this behavior demonstrated a disregard for the law and undermined arguments for his release. The prosecution made a chilly but powerful case. How could Durk be trusted to adhere to the conditions of his pre-trial release if he was incapable of following basic jail procedures? This breach of phone privileges would turn out to be just one of several leaked communications that eventually made their way online, providing hip-hop analysts and social media users with a wealth of material. The Fed's grand scheme, life sentences, wires and snitches. The federal case against Durk is based on accusations that are as extensive as they are outrageous. Prosecutors claim that Durk planned the scheme, providing OTF members with financial support and possibilities in the music industry to carry out the attack on Rondo. Authorities characterized this as a multi-state plot that involved extensive planning, significant bread, and the coordination of numerous players across various cities, rather than a spontaneous street feud gone bad. Unsettling information on the purported plot's execution has been uncovered by the commented investigation. 5 colleagues came from Chicago to Los Angeles using Durk's credit card for flights and accommodations, and attempted the assassination using guns, including one equipped with a machine gun conversion device. Given the amount of planning and resources required, it appears that this was not a case of sporadic street violence. Over 200,000 pages of evidence have apparently been produced by the investigation, including surveillance footage, money records, travel documents, and most damaging of all, recordings made by a confidential informant who had been wearing informant's wire for a number of years. The messages that have surfaced from Durk's operations while he has been imprisoned, however, are much more terrifying than the government's findings. The degree of violence and hostility surrounding this case is demonstrated by a startling threat made by a person claiming to be Durk's antagonist in one unsettling viral video, the fatal seriousness of the street battles that federal prosecutors claim drove the murder. Conspiracy is demonstrated by this threat against Durk's shorties.
Because if I get home for him, I'm gonna kill his kids.
Stop playing with me. You just say if you get home before him, you gonna kill his kids. Come on, gang.
Hey, it is what it is.
Come on, gang. You been in jail
I hope he get home.
100,000 years.
I need him to get home.
Come on, gang.
One of the case's most talked about topics in hip-hop circles is the identity of the federal government's primary informant. The lawsuit mostly depends on information from a confidential informant who allegedly wore a wire for years in order to collect details and recordings that implicate Lil Durk in the scheme. The name of the informant is officially secret in public court documents, despite widespread speculations and stories that identify them as Jam, a longtime member who was released from prison in 2022 after serving a sentence for attempted murder. The hip-hop world is rocked by the betrayal that this claimed informant's account adds. In a 2023 interview that has since surfaced, Jam said that Lil Durk helped him both mentally and financially while he was incarcerated by mailing him money and making references to him in his songs. A story that reads like a contemporary betrayal saga, straight out of the trenches, has been formed by the juxtaposition between this public gratitude and the purported cooperation with federal authorities. The ramifications of this informant situation have been dissected by hip-hop specialists in previously unheard of detail. In one particularly perceptive study, content producer Hood Educated discusses the significance of the government plan.
This co-conspirator who is unnamed, check it out, right? This how cold-blooded this unnamed co-conspirator is. Let me show you the power of this unnamed co-conspirator. He offered money. Not only that,
The research goes on to show how the FBI investigation is meticulous and how they have based their case on this cooperative witness. Online memes and jokes about jam snitching for a Big Mac were prompted by footage that was leaked in October 2024 and showed him eating McDonald's while being questioned while looking at the camera. Even though this could appear to be internet humor, it illustrates the grave betrayal of trust that such collaboration entails in hip-hop culture, where it is regarded as a basic street rule to keep your mouth quiet when the law is around. In addition, troubling trends of suspected illegal activity that go well beyond the Quando case have been uncovered by the FBI inquiry. The wider background of law enforcement's interest in Durk is explained by media figure DJ who has written a great deal about the rapper's legal issues.
When Durk gets caught in a shooting with Vaughn in Atlanta, detectives from Chicago travel to Atlanta just to testify in a pretrial hearing, just to keep him in jail.
This indicates that the recent federal lawsuit is the result of a much longer investigation, exposing the multi-jurisdictional operation that has been pursuing Durk for years. Academics goes on to describe why law enforcement's pursuit is so persistent.
The reason why they did it, they even admitted, the detectives, they said, we've been trying to get this money. We couldn't get him. Remember, he caught 3 gun cases.
Law enforcement officials' acknowledgement shows that Durk had previously overcome major criminal accusations several times, which makes the prosecution's latest federal indictment all the more noteworthy. Another release cell email, in which Durk displays a worrying degree of arrogance despite facing life in prison, captures his own perspective on the gravity of his circumstances, while demonstrating mental toughness. This comment also shows that Durk retains the street mentality that prosecutors claim drove the alleged crimes.
I don't fear nothing. Chill, it is what it is, like, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I got a brain. I know how to move, and I know what not to.
Despite being imprisoned and facing the most serious allegations of his life, Durk's defense team, led by lawyer Drew Finneling, has taken an aggressive legal stance, but it faces several obstacles. In April 2025, they filed motions to dismiss, claiming the indictment was based on flawed evidence, such as lyrics that were distorted, and that there was insufficient proof to connect Durk to the scheme. They asserted that the evidence was circumstantial and that prosecutors had deceived the grand jury. When prosecutors submitted a second superseding indictment in May 2025, eliminating all references to Durk's lyrics as evidence, it was a major win for the defense. This ruling probably represented an understanding that rap lyrics as proof of criminal intent are difficult from a legal standpoint and have been challenged by civil liberties organizations and legal professionals. Nevertheless, on May 8, 2025, a court rejected Durk's request for repeated bail, citing jail calls and other variables as proof of flight risk and community danger. Even after this victory and the removal of lyrics from the case, because the prosecution had already undermined their case by eliminating the poetic evidence, the denial was more noteworthy. Additionally, the case has demonstrated the extent of federal interest in OTF and its operations. Prosecutors claim Durk has set bounties on a number of people, including a witness's family member, and he was connected to another murder for hire in Chicago in December 2024, involving Stephen Mack. Although he was not charged, prosecutors' claims regarding Durk's threat to the community have been reinforced by this pattern of alleged criminal activities. The case is made much more intriguing by the timing of Durk's arrest. Lil Durk was trying to leave the country at the time of his detention. Although he was arrested close to Miami International Airport an hour prior to the departure of the Italy aircraft, U.S. Customs and Border Protection noted that he was scheduled to go to Dubai, Switzerland, and Italy. Prosecutors have used this attempted flight as proof of guilt, awareness, and flight risk. The widely shared jail video serves as a sobering reminder of the human cost of this legal dispute. In addition to being a rapper and a well-known figure, the man answering these calls is also a father of several children, his fiancée's partner, and the leader of a company that employed hundreds of people. His fate, as well as the destinies of everyone associated with him and his music empire, will be decided by the verdict in this case. With the alleged collaboration of old associates and the depth of evidence prosecutors claim to have, Durk's defense team faces an increasingly challenging legal situation. The extent of the alleged conspiracy is revealed with every new piece of information that comes to people light through court filings and media reports. Federal prosecutors contend that the organization functioned as a music label and a criminal enterprise right out of the trenches. This begs the issue of what sort of bond Durk had with King Von, which led him to risk everything for him. The bond that sparked a war was blood brothers. Lil Durk's jail video went viral, revealing more than simply a federal case. They have exposed the depth of a brotherhood, so powerful that it supposedly served as the impetus for one of the most destructive revenge plans in hip-hop history. You must comprehend Durk's relationship with King Von in order to comprehend why he is currently facing life in federal prison without the possibility of release. In the harsh streets of Chicago, a bond that went beyond conventional industry alliances and resembled blood family, Lil Durk and King Von's bond went beyond a simple rapper-to-rapper alliance. The combination of a commercial partnership, fraternity, and mentorship would eventually change the drill scene in Chicago and result in the federal accusations that now threaten to permanently terminate Durk's career. On November 6th, a fight outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta claimed the life of King Von, a Chicago rapper and member of Lil Durk's Only the Family collective. King Von's real name was Davon Daquan Bennett. Von wasn't just another street thug trying to rap when Durk first met him. He was witnessing unadulterated authenticity that was impossible to produce or instruct. Even longtime drill scene veterans acknowledged Von's unique contribution to the table. He had an unrivaled ability to use storytelling to vividly depict street life, transforming actual events into cinematic tales that enthralled both reviewers and listeners. During his most in-depth interview, Durk revealed the moment he chose to put Von on. After realizing his extraordinary talent, it was no accidental interaction that led to the finding. It was a conscious acknowledgement of excellence that would permanently alter their lives. Von's influence, however, extended well beyond his musical prowess. There was a part of Von that Durk identified with, that hunger, that genuineness, that readiness to show vulnerability about the brutal realities of living on the streets while retaining the credibility and respect that comes from having experienced it firsthand. This wasn't a fake artist or industry scheme. This was the authentic version. Stories that couldn't be made up, straight from the front lines. The business partnership soon developed into something much more. That's disclosure demonstrates how fast Von's skill was identified and how swiftly his career path shifted after Durk released him from the full burden of OTF. Their sincere concern and regard for one another outside of work was what set their relationship apart in the hip-hop scene. Durk saw Von as more than simply another artist to take advantage of. He viewed him as a member of his family, someone whose prosperity was intimately related to his own, and someone whose welfare was his duty. In the end, this protective impulse of the father will play a crucial role in explaining why the purported vengeance scheme occurred. Observing their creative dynamic was a unique experience.
One of the closest motherfuckers with me told me, start rapping. He just found some artists. So that made me kind of go hard, you know what I'm saying? But when I see Von, I always been Von. Like if Von was gonna be a rapper, a basketball player, football player, Von was always gonna be Von. Like a good-hearted motherfucker. So he like, man, when I go on Breakfast Club.
Von would bring unfinished ideas and raw energy to the studio. Durk would assist in refining them while preserving the genuine quality that made Von's music so captivating. An important aspect of their connection was uncovered through this cooperative process. In the conventional sense, it was not hierarchical. Even though Von was the upstart and Durk was obviously the more established artist, Von was able to thrive because of their shared respect and creative freedom. Von's creativity and genuineness were all his own.
Told me like 5 songs. He like, man, this shit, he said all shit weak. And I told him, I'm like, man, this is my favorite song right here.
What's up?
And it's crazy. Crazy story.
Really?
That motherfucker dropped Crazy Story, started going crazy. We was on tour. We was on tour too. Put him on tour, I started bringing him out. Then shit, Von just became like, if Von was alive right now, he'd be like the biggest right now.
But Durk provided the platform. The connection went much beyond the stage and studio. Von learned how to handle the commercial side of rap while retaining his street cred from Durk, who mentored him in every facet of the business. There was more to this mentorship than just music. For musicians whose music was so strongly linked to actual conflicts and violence, it was about surviving in a field that might be as hazardous as the streets from which they emerged. Durk's assistance and direction were crucial to Von's quick ascent to fame. Within a short period, Von moved from being relatively unknown to becoming one of the most talked about performers in drill music. His storytelling skills, along with Durk's industry contacts and financial savvy, made for a winning combination that helped Von reach heights of accomplishment that could have taken years to accomplish on his own.
It's so crazy because Von used to come in the studio and be like, hey, finish this for me. I'll help him out, finish it for him. Then that motherfucker just caught. Like, he just started rapping, started listening to his shit. You be like, damn, alright. Come on, bitch, let's die here. Like that's how he is. He ain't like, what you think? What you think they gonna think? From down my, come on, let's die. I'm talking down my head. Go on here, bitch, die your whole head. Ooh, come on, twin, come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's that. I'm like, fuck,
However, that success also brought with it more scrutiny from competing crews, police officials, and the sort of attention that comes with being a part of Chicago's drill culture. Von was targeted by people who perceived him as a threat or who had unresolved issues from the streets because of the exact sincerity that made his music so captivating. There was more to the night. Von was assassinated in Atlanta than the passing of a budding celebrity. The breaking of a connection that had been essential to both men's identities was the reason. According to federal authorities, Durk's response to the phone call in Houston started a series of events that ultimately resulted in the murder-for-hire scheme for which he faces a life sentence. Von's passing was more than just a personal tragedy. It was an assault on all that Durk had constructed, everyone he loved and all he stood for. There is an unspoken pact of loyalty and revenge in hip-hop culture and the streets. It is expected that there will be repercussions when someone you consider family is slain, particularly in situations that can be viewed as avoidable or unfair. There is more to this code than violence. It's about honor, respect, and preserving trust in situations where displaying weakness can be lethal in essence. The federal government's case against Durk contends that his devotion to Von went beyond grievance and into criminal conspiracy. They claimed that rather than using his suffering to express himself through music or the court system, Durk used his wealth, connections, and power to plan a retaliatory scheme that would ultimately result in the death of an innocent person and the dissolution of numerous families. The possibility that Von's death could...
You know, one of my favorite rappers ever was King Von.
Yeah.
You had a great relationship with him, obviously.
Yeah.
Where were you when you got the call?
We was in Houston. We were shooting a video, I think. Yeah.
He was one of the most talented guys on the planet.
Somebody told me if you can copy an artist to be somebody for Halloween, you made it. He had a whole image. You know what I'm saying? And he lived what he lives. What he rapped about, he lived, but he was good hearted at the same time, so it's like...
Have been avoided adds even more pathos to this tragedy. Von and rapper Quando Rondo, Taekwon Terrell Bowman, got into a physical argument at the start of the event, which escalated into a shooting between their opposing factions. Timothy Lull, Tim Leaks, a friend of Rondo's, was first accused of Von's murder before the charges were dropped in October 2023 under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. Von was shot several times and died from his wounds. Federal prosecutors contend that the subsequent vengeance plot was driven by a sense of unfairness and a desire for street justice, which were only heightened by the dismissal of charges against Von's accused killer. As far as Durk was concerned, justice had not been served by the court system. Therefore, he had to go for it elsewhere. The greatest and worst elements of hip-hop culture are embodied in Durk and Von's relationship. On the one hand, it demonstrates the strength of artist-to-artist mentoring, devotion, and sincere concern. However, it also shows how the same street norms and loyalty that forge close friendships can also result in violent retaliation, loops that ruin lives and communities. The widely circulated jail communications serve as a reminder of what that commitment has cost Durk, who is currently sitting in federal detention and may never be free again. He allegedly sought retribution for Von's death because of the same bond that motivated him to further Von's career, which finally led to charges that could have ended his own life as a free man. The tragedy affects not only Durk and Von, but also their families, communities, and the many followers who viewed their partnership as a testament to what could happen in the hip-hop industry when skill and opportunity came together. The culture is now seeing the possible devastation of all they created together, rather than applauding Durk's ongoing success and Von's posthumous releases. Admire this video. To learn more, click on the cards on your screen.